Welcome back, literary slummers, to another episode of HateRead. I'm Anna.
And I'm Em. Every fortnight here on HateRead, one of us challenges the other to read a book that we think they'll hate. This fortnight,
Like, you can't even finish your
so
sentence
stupid.
without laughing. It was that bad.
Title is so stupid. I challenged Anna to read Rebels, City of Indra, The Story of Lex and Livia by Kendall Jenner, Kylie Jenner, Elizabeth Killmond-Roman, and Maya Sloan.
A lot of authors involved.
A lot of authors. If you're talking about the whole series, there's 5 authors involved because they lost Maya Sloan and pulled in another Killman, I believe.
Oh, Maya, how could you do that to your career?
Yeah, I mean. So, okay, first things first. Did you finish the book?
Somehow, yes.
Yeah?
I did finish this book. It was rough.
It was rough.
Did you finish it?
Barely. I fell asleep multiple times.
I wanted to.
I was very sleepy today, you guys. I needed a nap, and this book really helped with that.
It really did.
The thing with this book is I don't know if I would consider it as... I'm very conflicted because I don't want to simply trash this book for being written by the Jenners. Because I think a lot of... Well, I mean, they are garbage, but I think a lot of the hate towards them comes from a kind of like misogynistic place where it's like, oh, they're dumb young girls who like makeup and hair things, and their sister did a sex tape, so they must be stupid. Like,
yes, piggybacking off everyone else's fame.
And they were very upfront about the fact that this was written by someone else, and that they essentially what Maya Sloan has said since this book came out was that, you know, they came up with the story, gave it to her, she wrote it, and they like read through it and gave her notes. So everyone's very upfront about the fact that they didn't really write this book. But all that aside, it's still a bad book. Like,
I kind of wanted to say this later, but for like the surprise factor, but I'll just say it now. It takes 200 pages for this book to get to the plot.
Yeah, it's real rough. It's real rough in terms of just...
It's 345 pages in total.
There was a lot going on at all times, I felt like, but none of it mattered. And I feel like we kind of have that complaint a lot, that it's like, there's stuff that's happening, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, like it literally will never come back, or maybe it does in the sequel. I don't know, but
stuff that does matter does not get set up properly at all. The world building
is so bad. I had such a murky image of this book in my mind the whole time I was reading it. I was like, I don't really know what anything looks like or what it's supposed to do.
I don't know what the setup is of this, like...
No.
What is happening? Like, the city of Indra, the titular city. Like, what is it?
I don't know. I was thinking, like, biodome, kind of.
Right. But, like, there's stuff floating, like, literally floating above it, so it can't be cut off.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
then, like,
where does the city end and the rest of Earth begin?
At one point, someone says something like, oh, the city of Indra is the size of the Atlantic seaboard, which, like...
Yes,
what does that mean? Like, do you mean is it the shape as well, or are we just... Because that's not a city. Like, what are you...
Or is it, like... Yeah, because that's from Maine to Florida, right?
Yeah.
So, like...
That's just...
Is this the U.S.? I don't know.
They say, like, the long ago when it was America, like, one time. So this is several thousand...
Did not catch that.
I think there's a line that, like, the great disaster or whatever, because, of course, there was... Catastrophe, sorry. The great catastrophe happened, like, 1,000 years ago.
Never heard what it was, but
it was a catastrophe, obviously.
Yeah. Of catastrophic proportions.
And it was great.
Capital G, capital C.
Why was everything capitalized in this book?
I don't know. Because no one has names either. Like, all the adults in this book, this is literally, like, you've talked about, like, adult erasure before in YA novels. Like, this is the worst because none of the adults even have names. They're all just titles.
Except for Marius.
Yeah, Marius and Laszlo, whatever his name is.
It's like, they're like, how could we make the name Laszlo more nerdy?
Laszlo!
Oh, man. All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about the actual plot.
Okay.
Is there a plot?
This is gonna take a little bit of piecing together from different parts of the book because it's obviously told in alternating perspectives. Sometimes by chapter, sometimes by paragraph. They don't really seem to care.
Sometimes one of them does multiple chapters in a row.
Oh yeah, that too. Yep. And the more boring one too, not the one that I liked.
But which one did you find more boring?
Lex for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
I liked her storyline better, but her as a person, I was just
Garbo. Which, interestingly,
so much better.
I wasn't going to bring this up, but there was an interview I read with Maya Sloan where she said something like, oh, and I based the personality of the two girls off of Kendall and Kylie.
Oh, no.
It really makes me wonder which one she based Lex off of.
Which one is the one with anger issues?
Which one is a meanie bobini?
Oh. So, this book starts out with my least favorite thing. It's an ambiguous prologue that takes place in an indeterminate past.
It never comes back. It doesn't matter.
There's like a one sentence throwaway at the very end, and that's it.
It does not matter.
It really doesn't matter.
You did not need this prologue to just, like, even if this prologue was to justify that sentence, you could have had that sentence and not had this prologue, and we all would have been fine.
Yep. Same book. But, because it's there, I'll tell you about it. Two groups of men are fighting to be the first to break through from inside the Earth's core to the surface to repopulate Earth after the Great Catastrophe. One of them betrays the other and is like, no, I will shape the world in my image. And then we never hear back about that.
That's it for them. Their names are confusingly Andrew and Atros, and if you put any effort into sorting out which one was which, more fool you, because their names will never be mentioned again in this book.
Yeah, well, there was a point where there was another, like, adult male character with an A name, and I was like, oh, was that the... And I actually went back to look, and no, it wasn't. It was a completely different character.
It was someone
else. Then, even more annoyingly, our chapter 1 is the chapter from the perspective of Livia, who's one of the main characters, the night before her emergence ball, which is like the night, or the emergence ball is this... It's like her debut, her debutante ball.
Except it's like singular for her. There's not a bunch of other debutantes at the same ball, and also she's supposed to like try to find a husband out of it.
She has to like get engaged that night. No, she has to get cohabitated that night because they're not husbands and wives; they're cohabitators.
Right.
So we get a chapter from her perspective at the age of 17. Then the next chapter goes back in time again to the infancy of the other girl, Lex. And the story moves forward from there. It's a very stupid setup. We have 2 unnecessary chapters right at the very beginning.
And it's really great because it adopts this thing where the chapter header tells you for Livia's, like, how long it is until the emergence ball. So, like, as we're bouncing back and forth through time over the next 800 pages, it's like, oh, days till the emergence ball, this many. Years till the emergence ball, this many. And, like, Lex doesn't have that at first, but then she does eventually because she has, like, a big important thing coming up too. And it's like, why did you do it this way?
The formatting is not great. And also, I want to talk about how these chapters are told from a first-person perspective of a girl in her infancy. She's like, I have a very good memory. Here's what happened when I was a baby.
Well, okay. To be fair with that, she does say about certain parts of it that she's watched it on the archive or something.
Okay, so that makes more sense.
Some of it she's watched on the archive. She definitely still has way better memory than anyone because I think that's part of her superpower. because,
oh god,
spoiler, these girls have superpowers.
They have superpowers.
But also they don't matter and are very unclear.
Yes.
So I think her memory thing is supposed to be a superpower, that she's got a very good... that and, like, her hearing, like, that, because that's the other thing, right? Like, she can hear real good.
She can hear and see in the dark. Well, she can hear all the time really good and see in the dark.
She can only hear in the dark. But I'm sorry. You need to turn the lights out. I can't hear what you're saying.
Hold on. Let me put the blackout curtains up. So I guess, yes, the archives are a thing where they can, like, go back and put chips in their arms to look at their memories, the memories that they're allowed to see, because I guess the government takes away some of your memories. And, like, they can also go inside movies, basically. So that comes into play a few times. In a very stupid way when they have to remove it. So I guess we'll talk about the girls. Livia is the girl that I liked. She is the Cosmo Heiress. And that's spelled A-R... No, I can't spell. It's spelled A-I-R-E-S-S. No H, no E at the beginning. Because she lives in the air.
But it means the exact same thing as heiress with an H. So, like, why? Like, it's not like she's heir to a fortune and that fortune is oxygen-based. Like, that's not the situation.
Though that would have been a cool, like, what is it called? Currency, form of currency, oxygen, because, you know, post-apocalyptic, kind of.
Right.
But she lives on an island in the sky. And she's taking on a cloud. Yep. Yeah, pretty much. She's taking etiquette classes to become a proper young woman, so that eventually she can have an emergence ball where she will choose a proper young man to cohabitate with. And the way that she chooses a proper young man to cohabitate with is by doing some stupid ass twirling and posing on a platform for an hour at her emergence ball to show herself off to all the young men.
In a waist trainer, which is like, there's this whole section of this book where like the author dunks on waist trainers, and I'm like, okay, I know we're supposed to, like, ignore the fact that this is a Jenner's, but do you not know what your sister sells on Instagram? Like, come on, homie.
Well, you know that those shakes and pills and stuff are totally natural, 100%. So I'll let Jamila do all the talking about that for me. But anyway, we follow her around from the time she is 7 years old all the way up to the day of her ball, and she doesn't feel like she fits in, and she hates being an heiress because she's so unique and special. And she has the ability to feel people's emotions, and, like, by being able to feel their emotions, she can tell how many people there are in a place, or she can tell how close or far away they are, or whether or not they're lying to her. And she can also sword fight with something called a zinger that sings. And we're given no more information other than that they only use those words to describe what it does.
Because at one point they specify that it's whistling, which is, like, a thing that I kind of expect swords to do. If you're, like, little thin sword, you, like, swipe it through the air and it goes, whoo, whoo, like, you know. But then they specify at other times that it is, like, singing, like, straight up. But it's, like, it does that. It's not saying words. So, like, you're using a different, you're not saying it's just whistling again. So, again, it like, all I can picture is, like, her pulling out this sword and it just being, like, and
No, it's not anywhere near that nice. It's like the mermaids in The Egg and Goblet of Fire.
Just gotta dip it underwater.
So basically her chapters are very boring because they just talk about how she doesn't like to do stuff.
Literally every single one of her chapters is like, I tried to fit in real hard, but then I realized I could never fit in. 2 years later, I tried to fit in real hard, but then I realized I could never fit in. And it's like, stop. Just stop trying.
Yeah, then do something else. You are like, the thing that really frustrated me about her is like, she is the most wealthy of the girls. And she really has like an ability, and I get this is a YA dystopian novel, so I get why this happened the way it did, but I'm like, girl, you had like within the confines of your community and your civilization, you had a lot of power, and you were just like, I don't want it.
Right. Like,
which like, you didn't know you were going to go on this adventure. You should have taken advantage of that shit.
She never like tries to play the game, really.
No, which I hate. It's a Gryffindor in a Slytherin's world.
I don't even know if I'd say maybe she's a Ravenclaw though, because I think
she is kind of smart, I guess.
Yeah.
Curious, I guess, not smart.
Yeah.
Lex is the other girl at this. Yeah, Lex is the other girl this book is about, and she is an orphan who has a heightened sense of sound and sight.
So she's a bat.
She's a bat. Yes, she echolocates everywhere. She grows up in this terrible situation where she is constantly...
doesn't make sense.
No, it makes zero sense to me, but, dystopian, so they had to make it awful. She grows up in this terrible situation where she is constantly being judged and watched, and she's constantly at risk of being bottomed out, which is their term they use to mean they send her to rock bottom, which I guess is like the core of the earth or something. Like, it's just like underground, as far underground as you can go.
But like everything's underground, but some stuff isn't, and I don't know what is.
I don't know what's what. They never told us what's above ground and what's underground.
Is the city above ground?
The city is on the surface.
But is it covered?
I don't know. They never said. Like, the islands are.
Yeah.
But they're way up in the sky, so that makes sense. But I don't know. We'll have to look at the fan art and see what
I'm sure there's a ton.
She survives the orphanage until she's 12, and she's selected to attend some sort of cadet academy where she trains for 5 more years to eventually be chosen as a Spec Ops member. And I guess like the cadet academy is this great honor bestowed upon children who show great promise, and so she's the first orphan who has ever gone to this place.
Yeah. And
for some reason, she really, I guess not for some reason. I guess it kind of makes sense. Like, she wants to belong and she wants to prove her worth. So she really seems to embrace parts of this academy lifestyle and the military lifestyle, but then also like other parts she seems to actively rebel constantly. But then when like push comes to shove, like all the characters are like, oh, you are such a military, I don't even know what the word,
like, apologist maybe.
Yeah, maybe. And they're like, oh, you're just so ingrained in their lifestyle and blah blah blah. I'm like, well, no, she wasn't. She was like punching bitches and not obeying anyone at all the whole time she was there. But
like,
I did not understand this characterization.
She like the way she's billed, it makes it seem like she has bought into the ideology of this civilization, right? Like, that's kind of what they're trying to, like, oh, she's just following orders. She believes that they're doing the right thing, sort of thing. But then in one of the later chapters, she's like, in her narration, she says something like, oh yeah, everybody hated the military and didn't want them to be around, and like they were all scared of them. And I'm like, didn't you cotton on that you were part of like an evil organization earlier? Like, if you knew that, like, so now I can't really like it. They were building her up very much as like She-Ra except obviously that came more recently in the recent reboot of She-Ra, where she's like part of the military that's evil, but she doesn't know it's evil and she thinks they're doing good. And then when it's revealed that they're not doing good, she turns her back on it. Except like she kind of always knew they weren't doing good, and also
she never really liked them.
She never liked them, and also like I'm still very unclear as to like in what way is this dystopia bad? I don't really get it.
Exactly, that was my thing. It's like, so there's a group of rebels in this book. I'm like, what are they rebelling against?
Who's
because
in charge here? May I speak to your manager?
Well, and then when they give us the answer at the end of the book, it's just like, oh, we're a religious cult, I guess. Like, That was what they were rebelling for?
And they're like, you have to be the saviors that we need in order to return Indra to the people of Indra. And I'm like, aren't the people of Indra already like in charge though? I need to see like I don't necessarily need like a big bad at the top of it, but I need to understand who's on what side and why. Like,
yes. It was so nonsensical. Like, the world building was just so spotty. They were just like, well, okay, we're writing a YA dystopian, so we've got to have a rebel faction that's rebelling against a big bad evil government, and also there are kids involved. But like, that's all I know. So here are your buzzwords. Go out, make a book. Like, so at the academy, Lex befriends a boy named Kane, who becomes her best friend and like the only person she ever cares about, whatever. And then she like be enemies a girl named Cassina.
Yeah.
Who Cassina just doesn't like her because she's an orphan from a lower class.
Yep.
And Lex just punches her in the face, and they're enemies ever since then.
Cool.
It didn't really provide a lot of tension throughout the book because it didn't matter.
There's a point where like Cassina betrays them, and it's like, well, yeah, duh.
Well, duh. Why were you so stupid?
You hated her this whole time, and she hates you, and that's like her defining character trait is how much she hates your guts. Like...
Yep. But then, like, I'll talk up to that. So Kane, her friend, is selected for his. He basically like kind of graduates early from the academy. He's selected for a position in this military before graduation, and he begins to do his job before they graduate.
But not before the scene that I most want to talk about in this entire book, where they're in their final simulation.
Oh my god.
And
yeah, go tell us about that.
Cassina sends Lex to go fight the enemy by herself, and Kane is like, I'll go with, which undermines Cassina's authority so that she has to do it or something, whatever, who cares. And they go to fight these enemies who are rock bottom dwellers, I guess, mutations, who are basically just all fat and ugly is basically their description. They're like, they're so fat, they're so stinky. Like,
they're just gross.
And then in what can only be described as a move from a really desperate D&D player, Kane and Lex, after they're out of, well, not bullets, but charges for their guns, which their guns are so stupid in this, man. But anyway, they pull out Kane's magical paintbrush.
Oh my god.
Which works on sound.
Yes, it paints sound.
It paints sound and creates paint in the air. And this is how they all escape.
They never said. They just talked about the colors of sounds. They didn't tell us, like, is it just hanging in the air?
They definitely say
Does it also create paper?
They definitely say at one point it creates pigment. So,
okay.
Which implies not just, like, light to me. It implies, like, it is shooting out, like, either paint or, like, straight up powdery pigment. And they use this as, like, a smoke screen to get away.
Oh, my God. It's like Splatoon up in here.
It's stupid.
It's
so stupid. And, of course, this is all simulation anyway, so it doesn't matter, but... The paintbrush thing was not part of the simulation. That was an established thing before this.
How did he sneak that into the simulation? They're in a simulation. You can't put something in your pocket and...
Who invented that? Is the bigger question. At what point in this dystopia where they're constantly trying to, like, come up with new genetic inventions to, like, improve the genetics of everyone, was someone like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make a fucking paintbrush that paints sound. Like, why? Why did you do that? What was the reason?
Just in case we ever have a child that needs to be romanticized, we'll have him paint the sound of his friend's laugh.
It leads to the creepiest lines from him, because at one point he's like, I painted my breath and sighs. And it's like, okay, stop. And then at one point she says, like, when she first is introduced to this paint paintbrush, he's like, I want to paint your laugh. And then she, like, does it, and he's like, I can't wait to paint your screams. What does that mean?
Oh my God!
Kane! What is that?
a little sociopath.
So
I'm pretty
creepy.
sure.
I thought he was gonna turn out to be like a murderer.
Well, I mean, they did choose him to become an assassin.
Yeah, there was
an
a
assassinator,
reason.
but yeah, there had to have been a reason. Boy is not all that he seems to be. So Kane is selected for that assignment to become an assassin before he even officially graduates the academy. So, like, what is he doing in the meantime that, like, the assassins are like, yes, that one, we'll pluck him out. He's painting screams. He seems to have a penchant for pain. But he promises Lex that they'll meet up inside one of his memories, because that's a thing, 2 weeks after graduation. It's like the memory of his 8th birthday party or something.
Well, and I mean, it's a thing in so much as they've told us multiple times that you can't go into other people's memories. It's illegal. Yep. And they've even put, like, excerpts from legal documents, because they occasionally do interstitial things where they'll do, like, oh, this is from the book of Indra, or this is from a rule book, or whatever. Yep. And they've told us that if you do this, you will be found and caught, and you will have to remain in memories forever as a shadow, as punishment to everyone else. And, like, we've seen multiple examples of this, and it's building up like this is going to be in any way relevant to anything ever. It's not.
Mm-hmm. Nope. I actually forgot all about that until you said it.
Yeah, but how many times did they bring it up? Because they had
a lot.
They had the legal
There's
thing.
that guy she fights.
There's the guy she fights. They talk about it with Livia,
the girl in the hollow.
The girl in the hollow. Yeah, like, it comes up all the frickin' time.
Yeah, like, there's always, like, whenever Livia goes inside an archive thing, there's always, like, she notices someone, like, robed in all black watching her out of the corner of her eye or something. Like,
cool.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. Kane does not show up in his own memory, and Lex becomes worried. And instead of, I guess she, like, kind of wanders around the memory until Cassina, her enemy, shows up. And she's like, hey, I got some news for you about Kane. You should 100% trust what I'm going to tell you right now. So she gives Lex a memory that she got from somewhere. I don't know. She's, like, kind of high up in the military, so she has access to literally everything by the sounds of it.
Yep.
And even though Lex knows that memories can be tampered with, like, she said right before she even watches this memory that Cassina hands her, she's like, memories can be tampered with. I shouldn't trust this. She watches it and she's like, oh my gosh, this is 100% what happens. I'm gonna trust everything Cassina says.
There's also literally no volume in the memory. Like,
there's no sound at all. She muted it,
and Lex is like, hey, how come I can't hear anything? And Cassina's like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just, this dumb girl. This girl who's hated her for years, since day one, since she met, tried to kill her in a simulation. Like, you're just going to trust her implicitly now? Okay. So she sees this memory and she's like, I have to say, so the memory is like Kane getting beat up by Livia and some security guards. And he's like on the verge of dying. And so she's like, I got to run after and save Kane because that's totally more important than being in this military all of a sudden. Like, again, her characterization, very strange. Either she's super into it or she's super against it. There's no in between for her. So
that's basically how I feel about Hot Pockets.
What?
Sometimes you just really want a Hot Pocket.
Yeah, okay.
Sometimes you're like, ew, no, gross, Hot Pockets.
But then you eat it and you're like, this was a terrible decision?
Never. If I get to the point where I'm committed to making a Hot Pocket, I'm in 100%. Just as Lex is with her military. But then other times, I'm like, no, I want to abandon this Hot Pocket and go save my boyfriend.
Exactly.
It's a perfect
the Hot
metaphor.
Pocket theory. So the reason that Kane was getting beat up in this memory, because that part is true. The reason that Kane was getting beat up was because he was sent on a mission to assassinate Livia at her emergence ball for a reason that never comes up.
Nope, still unclear. Don't know why.
Still unclear, yes.
Could have just been because Kane felt like killing her.
Yeah, that he wanted to paint her dying gurgles, I guess. I don't know. He was going to kill her by kissing her and passing a poison tablet from his mouth into hers. Which I guess then she would have, instead of spit out like, ew, what did you just put in my mouth, you fucking weirdo? She would have eaten it and be like, thanks for that. Like,
it's part of kissing in the future.
Like,
it's a dystopian future. Sometimes your teeth fall out while you're kissing.
It's all that radiation just makes the teeth just like
thing to do
really
is just
sensitive.
swallow your partner's tooth.
It's covered in the book of Indra. You shouldn't be embarrassed. It happens to everyone. Then they just take you to the genetics lab and pop a new one in. It's fine.
It's fine. And your partner gets to keep a nice little tooth baby in their belly forever.
And maybe someday it'll grow up into a big tooth man.
That's how genetics work in the future.
Yes. You know what, though? There wasn't anything in the book that said it didn't, so.
There you go.
Headcanon.
I'm crying.
So, Livia ruins Kane's plans by kissing him first.
Because Kane was like not gonna do it at this point.
Yeah,
supposedly.
Kane was like, oh, you are too different and special, so I am not going to kill you.
And also you remind me of someone.
Who could it be?
I don't know. The title of the next book is The Time of the Twins. I wonder what's happening in this one.
Oh, I think they're strangers.
They've never met.
So he doesn't want to go through the assassination, but as like they're making out and talking about it, these security guards burst in and beat him to a pulp and take him off to jail. Which I have some questions about this, because one, did the security guards know he was attempting an assassination, or did they just beat the shit out of him because they were kissing?
I think it was because he was trespassing. I think was the...
So everyone knew he was not a proper young man.
At this point, yes.
Okay. But see, how did they find out then to begin with?
He had them weak teeth bones.
If you are part of this Indra nobility, you would have already had gold-plated teeth that were superimposed into your gums so they would never fall out.
Yeah, a dead giveaway.
Natural tooth, that's despicable. You're still on your first enamel? Ugh.
They're cadaver teeth, I swear!
Oh my god. Also, because of this assassination attempt, it apparently makes Livia, like, undesirable as a cohabitating partner.
Mm-hmm. See, I thought that part was because of the kissing.
But see, who saw them kissing?
Well, they saw the tooth. There was no tooth.
They saw because at the point they would have walked in is they had already broken apart, because she's like, you were trying to poison me? And he was like, no, let me explain. And then the security guards like burst in and were like, punch, punch, punch.
We're meant to take this because everything that happens with Livia's slice of the sky is like very reminiscent of like Victorian times in terms of etiquette and stuff.
So she's like alone with a boy.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
She was ruined.
Not clear, not super clear. Her governess like full on goes into like a fainting spell and like is essentially like reduced to being a slobbering idiot for the rest of the book.
She has to go to an asylum.
Yeah, because of this incident, which like
yeah. Which so they
that's
like
what happens when you care too much about your work, my friend.
And throughout this whole book, they're kind of like hinting at something like all of the people that are preparing Livia for her emergence ball, which includes her governess, who's been with her since she was a baby, her sword master, the etiquette tutor, and then like these two family friends. Yeah, life guide. And then the two family friends, Waslow and Marius, are all like really dependent on her having a successful emergence ball and cohabitating with the right proper young man. And there's all this tension there for that, but then there was like no outcome.
Yeah.
And assumably there won't be, because at the end of this book, it's like they're off. there's no more connection to this world.
Yeah.
So, like...
So,
I don't understand why everyone was all uppity about this. There's a lot of scenes where Marius is like, you have to promise me, Livia, that you will make a good match.
I assumed that Marius was evil and had something to do with, like, the overall control of the city, because there's a few lines that are like, oh, you know, I made a good match with Laszlo, and now he has so much power and I have so much power and blah, 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 blah,
because
blah.
I guided him.
So, like, I thought maybe they were going to end up being, like, the criminal, or not criminal, but, like, the puppet masters, but there's nothing to puppet, so I don't really know.
Yeah. It was, like, such a letdown, because I was expecting there to be, like, some big evil reveal, and it was just,
not.
Tapered off.
They're like, well, we're done with this now. Goodbye, friends.
Yeah,
goodbye,
unless
horse.
at, like, the end of this book, they're like, never mind, we're not going to the surface, we're going to turn around and go back to the island.
I definitely looked at, like, the general synopsis of book 2, and I don't think Marius and Laszlo are involved at all.
Well,
in any way, shape, or form.
That's so dumb. There's so many loose ends. Whatever.
But there might be book 3, because apparently book 2 ends on a cliffhanger. So, maybe one day.
Hopefully it goes back, yeah. Book 3, back to the island.
We
have to go back.
Return to Indra, the third story of Lex and Livia,
the story of Marius and Laszlo.
The story of Marius and Laszlo, this one's a prequel.
We just wanted to clear up any, like...
we know confusion. You were confused.
Yeah. So, the day after all of that happens with Kate and Livia, Lex, like, bursts into the island and is like, let's fight. And so Livia and Lex fight until almost death. And I would like to point out that this is 200 pages in the book. They finally meet.
Yay. These characters I've come to know and love.
I cherished my time with both Lex and Livia on their own.
I cared so much about how they grew and developed. In many different ways, and not at all in a repetitive way. That was basically the same for both of them.
Yep. And you know what? It was so bad that, like, I'd be reading along and I'd be like, I don't know which character I'm reading from the perspective of, because they sounded exactly the same. They both had names that started with L.
No, I will say Livia used fewer contractions.
Oh, she talked properly. So, Lex fights with a gun, and Livia fights with a sword.
Wonder who will win this one.
Oh, yeah. It was the girl with the sword, because she also secretly knew jujitsu, which what?
Also, I know this is later, but at one point, Livia chops someone's gun in half with her sword. What are these guns? Are they Play-Doh?
They were all 3D printed.
They, like, run out of charges after, like, 5 shots, and they can be chopped in half with a sword. Like...
A sword that sings,
That's true. That's true. It was the power of song.
Zinger.
Which, incidentally, how much better would it be if what Zinger did, because the name is Zinger, was, like, make fun of the opponents? Zinger! Gotcha!
Got him!
That'd be so much better. An idea for the 3rd book, ladies.
Yes. Feel free to take it.
You can credit us amongst the other 18 ghostwriters you'll have at that point.
So Lex and Livia are having this, like, Dragon Ball Z style fight all over the island, and then the police show up to arrest Lex for deserting her post. But also, like, they're kind of there to also arrest Livia, I guess. Probably for fighting, but I don't know. Like, she's kind of defending herself, so. The girls decide that they need to go find Kane instead of kill each other. So they go on the lam together.
Yes.
Because I guess at some point, Lex is like, I'm looking for Kane. Where is he? And Livia's like, in jail. They're like, all right, let's go find him.
Is this the point where they look into each other's eyes, though? Because I think that might also be... Like, that happens during this fight, right?
Yes, I think so. You'll know her when you see her.
Yeah, they, like, look into each other's eyes, and they both have this, like, little birthmark in their eye, I think, is essentially...
Yeah, well, it was, like, something that was lasered.
Yeah,
into
but I
it
mean,
from,
like,
yeah.
they didn't know it was lasered. At the time, they would have
yeah.
assumed it was a birthmark situation. And they do say, they're like, oh, well, anyway, that doesn't matter. I'll cut that.
Yeah. Well, they say this thing, like, they both, oh, so Lex says, you'll know her when you see her. And Livia, like, says it with her, or, like, completes her sentence or something. And Lex is like, how did you know I was thinking that? And she's like, I could just read it off of you. So I guess Livia is also, like, a mind reader.
Well, and then they both also say, it was something a man said to me. And they're both like, yeah, I agree with that statement, that I remember a man saying that to me. And spoiler, they were 1 minute old when a man said
Yes, I was just gonna say that. How did you remember that?
It was a really good memory, y'all. I don't think babies even have memory bits in their brain yet at that point. Like,
I don't know. Michael, write in and tell us.
I don't think they can do that. Like, I don't think it's physically possible.
Well, you know, in this dystopian future, all babies are born with adult brains.
Or maybe that's what makes them so special, is that they were babies with adult brains. And now it's kind of like that, like, child prodigy thing where it's like, wow, they're so special, but now they're just adults with adult brains, and it's not really that special anymore.
It's like how you were a gifted student in high school, and then you get to college, and you're like,
oh,
fuck.
No one cares. Absolutely nobody cares.
It don't matter.
Does not matter.
So the two girls jump off of the island that Livia lives on, the island in the sky. And they land on a rigging station, which I didn't understand what this was, because it was the first time they mentioned it in the book, and I didn't want to try too hard to comprehend what it was. They
mentioned it when I know her name's not Cassiopeia. What's
Cassina.
When Cassina, like, was explaining the whole thing to Lex, she was like, oh yeah, my dad is that guy, which I'm still not clear if that was a lie or the truth, if she's supposed to be Waslow's daughter or not clear.
Yeah.
But she's like, oh yeah, he was working out on a rigging station, like, as his cover, like, so he could spy on her. That was part of his whole assignment thing. But
they don't explain what it is at all.
They say that it's like a service station sort of thing. So, like, all the people who do service, so
just pumping some gas into this island, so it stays in the air.
So, like, all the gardeners and stuff live there, I think. But it's also dangerous, which it's like, okay, but, like, it took you guys approximately, like, 10 seconds to get from the surface of Indra to Magic Cloud City. So, like, why don't you just live down there where it's apparently not dangerous?
Exactly.
Why are you doing this to yourself? We're sky pirates. Skyrates. Because that's the other thing. They're like, oh, they work very hard to keep the city running, but also they hate all, like...
They hate
it. They hate the government.
Yes.
They hate the military. They're essentially like sovereign citizens, if sovereign citizens were also, like, working at the post office. Like, is the vibe. Yeah, I'll get you a stamp. Fuck you. Okay, cool.
And they are, like, so vehement in their hate that, like, so these two girls fall from the sky and land on their rigging station in front of this guy, and he's just like, huh, you're on the run from the police? Let's fuck them up!
But not before first talking about how beautiful they are, and also how there are no women on the rigging station, which the gender politics of this book were super fucking weird.
Yes, I was getting some weirdo vibes when he said that, but no, he was just, like, hungry to kill some police officers.
That was his primary goal.
Yeah, maybe if they had lived through this encounter, then it would have gotten a little bit dicey for the girls, but, like, they literally, like, they mobilize the whole rigging station and then just fight the police for these girls. And some of them even die to, like, so the girls can get away.
And the girls are...
You don't even know these girls.
The girls are literally like, huh, it's weird that those guys were willing to do that. Guess they really hate the police.
Yes!
And it's like, okay, yeah, I guess so. You've given us no more information, so I guess we'll have to accept that too.
know there were so many times in the book where the characters were like, I don't know anything about this, so I guess the reader won't either. Like, just like, great.
Good. Thank you.
Good. Like, I understand that there are times when an author has to keep information from the readers in this manner so that we can, like, go on the journey with the character, but you can't do that the whole book.
Just, like, it is equally bad. Like, okay, it is annoying when an author, like, their explanation for a thing is, like, shrug, I don't know. It's probably a lot worse when they put that in the book for the characters to say and do. The characters are like, oh, I don't know. I guess they just hate the police, maybe. There's probably some deep, dark backstory here, but I don't have time to care or get into it.
Yeah, that's for the 6th book. Rebels, riggers of Indra, we're on this rigging station fucking up the police.
Also gardening.
Also gardening. These girls could have been, like, serial killers for all they knew. Like,
the police could have had a valid reason.
Exactly. Instead, they're just like, get off our rigging station.
Look, when you have a fuck the police attitude, you gotta live by that attitude. You can't, like, be like, fuck the police unless they have the appropriate warrants. That's not...
Ugh. They didn't do their paperwork.
They didn't. That was really what it was.
So, Lex and Livia managed to dodge the police by stealing some sort of flying vehicle from the riggers while the riggers are busy dying to the police. And they pilot it to the place where Kane is being held and break him out. And in the midst of breaking him out of jail, they run into some rebels. Again, not given any clear indicator of what they're rebelling against, what their plan is, other than they're just angry people. I don't know. Somehow they knew that these 2 girls were here at the jail to get Kane.
Were those rebels at first, or were those more guards? Because I thought they were more guards.
Well, it was guards, and then...
Eventually, the one guard is revealed to be a rebel, but that's after they go through and get Kane. Isn't it?
Well, I just assumed that, like, everyone was there, because she was like, oh, I've got him, and then they, like, came in and took them away.
Yeah, like, I thought they were in the background, but I thought all the ones that they interacted with at first until they got Kane were... guards. Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It was very dumb. The rebels, like, lead the 3 young adults away from the police and the jail. But before they can take them to their secret hideout, they have to basically perform a, like, sound lobotomy on Lex's brain because they have to take out this chip in her brain that monitors her location and inhibits her emotions and memories and things. Because
they all have that, I guess. And she gave a reading of, like, 63, which is bad. And I don't know what 63 of what, but it was 63. And Livia gave one of 20, which is below 30. So that means she's okay and doesn't have to do it. And also the guy who does the operation has only ever done it once before, which would imply that a lot of people are in that under 30 range, except he says that she's the only one who's in the under 30 range. So if everybody has these chips and they have to take them out before they go to their secret base, but also, like, he's only done this once before, like, how does that work? How does
I don't understand any of it. It was so dumb. It was. And then after the surgery, so, like, they stick this giant needle into this girl's ear until it pokes her brain. Yep. And she feels intense pain because there's something. Yeah, there's some serious brain pokage happening. And then they, like...
Actually, I don't know. Does your brain have pain receptors? Like, I know other things do, and they go to the brain in a process called science. But if someone touched your brain... Like, if someone just, like, opened your skull... This isn't about the book. This is just, I'm curious. If someone opened your skull and touched your brain... Or really any of your organs. Would you feel it? Like, if they were lightly stroking it, would you feel it? Would you know?
Okay. Google says there are no pain receptors in the brain itself, but the meninges,
Meninges.
the coverings around the brain, and the coverings on the bones of the scalp all have pain receptors. So maybe that was, because you go through the ear canal, there's no scalp there.
So what I'm gathering from this is if someone cuts my skull open after I have dealt with the horrible pain of having my skull cut open, they can stroke my brain as much as they want, and I will be fine.
Well, I don't know if you'll be fine, but you won't feel pain. Just getting that good brain massage.
good brain stroke. Well, it wouldn't be pleasing to me either, because I wouldn't feel anything. But maybe they would like it.
Maybe, yeah, that's like that, like some people have stress balls, other people have brain squeezes. Same texture, probably.
I don't think squeezing. I think squeezing would be problematic.
Brain stroke.
But I think as long as it's a light stroke, you're good.
Maybe, like the textures on the brain because of all the folds.
Yeah, it'd probably be nice.
Yeah, I bet. And, kind of slimy, maybe.
Probably. A little bit like...
Write us in. Write in, let us know.
What do brains feel like?
What do brains feel like?
I feel like we could figure this out by, like they sell animal brains as, like, meat. So we could...
I'm not buying
We
one.
could figure this out, but I don't want to.
Anyone out there in MD can tell us, what does brain feel?
What do brain feel like? Touch the brain?
So, they put this needle all the way inside her brain and then blast sounds at it until the chip just, like, I don't know, doesn't work anymore.
It drops below 30.
It goes below 30, which is good.
Or possibly her brain goes below 30. I'm not clear. Again, the measurements were given to me, but with no context for what they meant.
Absolutely not. And just like, they were just like, oh, Livia, you're special, so we don't have to hurt you, but we're going to hurt Lex, the angry one. Which is like, did the author, she based these characters off
one of them was giving her too many rewrites.
Yeah. Yep.
Also, we should mention at this point that they know they're twins, right?
Oh, yeah. They also know that they're twins.
Because one of the rebels was friends with their mom. And he's like, y'all are twins. And they're like, cool. I knew that because I saw the title of the second book.
So she, Lex is able to function at 100% capacity about like 10 minutes after the surgery.
But it was...
And so they proceed to the secret hideout where there are some action scenes that aren't very exciting. Some people die. Lex runs into someone from Spec Ops and they we're going to kill her. And she's like, no, I'll lead you to their secret hideout if you let me go. And he's like, okay, but if you betray me, I'll kill you. And so then she betrays him, but he doesn't kill her. But she also doesn't tell them that he's following them to the secret hideout. And so he finds out where their secret hideout is.
She also meets up with her childhood friend who was so unimportant that we didn't even mention up to this point. But she had this really beloved childhood friend. And they reunite, and then the childhood friend dies. But it's okay, because the childhood friend had a hot brother.
Definitely not becoming a love interest in the next book.
Not at all.
They hate each other.
They hate each other so much. Hate each other so right.
100% hate. And so they get to the hideout, and the leader of this rebel group, Roscoe, reveals the truth about them, that they are twins, and the dad did some genetics to make their mom pregnant because they were having difficulty conceiving. And the genetics made the girls have some sort of powers. And then the dad either died or didn't die.
The mom
and the
went
mom
away.
Either died or didn't die.
Either died or didn't. Also, can I just real quick, okay, I know I'm asking a lot of questions and taking us on a lot of tangents, but...
No, you're good.
The whole genetics thing. Okay, so, the dad was a geneticist, which, first off, was really, really funny when at the beginning, Livia was like, I have an aptitude for genetics. And it's like, okay, well, that's not how anything works, but all right.
I inherited it.
Their father was a geneticist, and he invented this pill called the, X2. And it's birth control, essentially, is what it does, you see. And, we know this from early on because Livia says, she has to take X2 every day, and if she wants to have a child, she will stop taking X2 and then presumably have a child. But then suddenly at the last second in this part, they like kind of retcon that and they're like, no, what X2 is really for is for preventing twins. But then like you still have to stop taking it in order to conceive. So like wouldn't there still be a risk of having a twin at that point? Like I don't understand why. And then also they're like, oh,
clearly they didn't either.
There's like a rule up above that's like, oh, you can only have one kid per cohabitated couple, and then they go down to rock bottom, and everyone's like, nah, we fuck all the time, and everybody has 1 million kids. And like none of them shits as twins. Like they're not taking the magic anti-twin pills, so like why haven't they had twins? Because that's like at the end of this book they're like, we have long awaited the magic twins who will save us, they've been prophesied. And it's like, well, this is taking a turn, number one, into far not sci-fi.
Out of nowhere.
But also like, really? No twins? Anywhere?
Well, and then the funny thing to me was that they like turn to each other and they're like, I wonder what will happen now that we're not taking the X2 anymore. I'm like, Rebels, City of Indra 2, we're entering womanhood by having our first periods.
See, I was just thinking, Rebels, City of Indra, oops, Kane didn't pull out, now there's more
twins!
of them. Pulling out is not an effective method of birth control, just to any young listeners we may have. Also, please stop listening to this podcast.
Please. Who let you on here onto this internet? Get out. I'm telling your mother.
Caden, I'm gonna tell your mom. Caden, you need to turn this off.
Caden, ugh. Then I'm gonna yell at her for giving you a stupid name.
God damn it, Caden.
So like Em said, there's a prophecy that says that 2 17-year-olds will come and lead people to some sort of promised land, which is basically just a different part of the Earth's surface. Mm-hmm. And that they have been waiting for these 2 girls to lead them all to this land. But then the book ends with just 4 of them leaving.
Yeah. Yep.
Are they supposed to come back?
No.
Or is that it?
I don't think so.
Just the 4 of them.
Just the 4 of them.
Which is Kane, Livia, Lex, and then the angry guy. That's probably going to be a love interest for angry girl.
I almost guarantee that he is a love interest.
Yes. And that's how the book ends, y'all.
Real good. Really enjoyed.
Oh, also,
read.
like, they have to hurry up and leave because that guy that Lex led to the secret hideout is there destroying it.
Now,
so, assumably, like, there will be no one left.
I know
for them to lead
you
out.
are desperate to read the sequel, but I do just want you to know, in broad strokes, apparently, they go to the part of the world that's not Garbo, and their mom is there.
Great.
And then also their dad is there, but their dad might be evil, and he's trying to destroy a dam, but then they don't do that.
Wait, there are still dams?
I guess.
Or they've built it again? Or, like, why would they need to? Okay.
You're asking me questions that can only be answered by City of Indra, outside the city, girls on the loose.
No, women. They're having their periods now, Em. They're women on the loose. Loose women!
No.
Oh, so join us next fortnight when we will be reading that book.
Oh, man. So was your silver lining?
My silver lining. Okay, I actually had a legit silver lining.
Because I definitely didn't.
I actually was interested in some aspects of Lex's storyline, and you kind of like hinted at it earlier where you were like, oh, you know, we thought there was going to be this like, you like the military until you find out the military did something bad, like that kind of aspect of it. I would have really liked to hear more about Lex's time at the Cadet Academy and like her spec ops training and being a spec op, but then like scale it up to be an adult book, because I thought there were parts of it that were very interesting, but they weren't done any justice. So that was my silver lining, I guess.
Yeah.
I was imagining another book being written.
My silver lining
some of these elements.
Is that there were like a lot of parts of Livia's story that were like really interesting, and if they had like scaled it up to like an adult.
Also true, though.
I mean, yeah, like for real. Like
we need to know about that governess, man.
Right. There were so many unanswered questions. But I guess we'll have to...
That were much more interesting than the ones that were answered.
That need not be answered. And so I guess there were moments of an interesting story somewhere in here. Also, I did really enjoy the singing sword, just picturing that. I don't know how it works. I don't know what it means, but I was a fan.
Zinger. Oh my god. Well, what character did you relate to then?
I could pretty much just say any like job title and pretend like that was a character in the book. So like
pretty much. Etiquette tutor.
Yeah. Mouse wrangler.
Cabbage Patch curator.
Shrubbery expert.
Dentist.
Yep.
For all those teeth.
Those kids' teeth. Probably the mean girl in
Lex?
Livia's storyline, not the mean girl in Lex's storyline.
Oh, what was her
Micah?
name? Started with an
Micah,
M. Yeah, Micah.
I don't know. Like, she seemed, well, she's kind of weak sauce as far as like manipulative mean girls go. And again, I don't really relate to that. I just find it funny to read.
Yeah. That's like my internal monologue of the book, I guess. Which is, I kind of like Xavier for that reason, because he was just like, Lex, you're full of shit.
Yeah. And honestly, I kind of like, Cassava.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that one. Because she was like, I mean, like, aside from the fact that she basically hated people who were poor, I mean, she seemed good at her job, and she seemed way more competent than most of them, so.
Yes. Yeah. Like, she got a really good job placement.
Yeah. Which might have been nepotism, but oh well.
Oh, well. Who knows? That wasn't a book. That was...
Rebels.
Conformers, City of Indra, the bureaucracy.
Rebels, City of Indra, climbing that corporate ladder. Lean in.
I like that book, too. Dang. Jenner sisters, let us know.
We got a lot of ideas for this franchise.
We would happily step in as the ghostwriters of the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and probably 7th books at the rate we're going.
Really?
Really, I think it's just a whole universe, and we just keep writing books in the same universe, different people each time.
Yeah. Speaking of other books.
Oh,
wait,
yes.
Who did you relate to? Did you say?
Well,
Xavier.
I kind of related to Xavier, but then like there was like one line in this book that made me relate to Livia, but I want that to be like the quote at the end.
So just know the quote at the end, guys, is Anna's
why I related to Livia.
Who she relates to.
So yes, rather be reading. I haven't read it yet, but it kind of reminds me vaguely of what I know about the Red Rising series by Pierce Brown.
Oh, okay. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, where it's like a group of people that are they like underground or on a different planet or something? And then like they were like working really hard and toiling away, and they like don't realize it, but there's a whole world above them that is much more privileged than they are, because they thought everything was like the same as the situation they were in. And then there's like an uprising or something. I don't know, dude. I don't know anything about the series. Just that vaguely reminded me of this. Also, like, stop reading dystopian YA. Can we just... The genre is tired. Just read some good YA. Fantasy. Contemporary.
I'm not willing to disbar all dystopian YA yet, because, you know, I think
have
that
too much hope for this genre.
Listen, most of it's bad, but some of it's good, and...
Which one was good? What'd you rather be reading?
Okay, well, my rather be reading, I think it's technically dystopia YA, actually. Fuck you. Is I actually had a few, but so I'm gonna real quick shout out the Cinder series by Mercenaire. and The Young Elites by Marie Lu. But the one that this most kind of reminded me of was Ignite Me by Tahereh Mafi, which like
Shatter Me.
Mixed, or Shatter Me is the first one. The Shatter Me
series.
That
series when I first read
it. It's a fun series, and I think it has a lot of the stuff that this book was going for. In terms of like girl who is super special, but her specialness makes her a target sort of thing. And you don't know who to trust and all that sort of stuff. Like, I think there's some resonance. And also I'm pretty sure one of the covers is this exact cover. Like, it's like an eye.
Yes, it is. They all are.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, if you were really interested in reading a book with a eye as the cover, you could read Shatter Me instead of this.
The world building is a little better, but the politicking is a lot better in that one, I believe. Also has angry boys.
Yeah, you know.
It's true too.
My favorite, angry boys.
Angry boys, yep. Wonderful.
Cool. So I think that wraps us up for this book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which means it's your turn, Anna.
Yay!
Yay! Wow, we did not talk nearly. I thought with all those digressions we were at like an hour and a half for sure, but we are making great time.
Oh, good. Okay, so then let me present you with a choice, because I have two books here. I wasn't sure which one I wanted to go with. Would you rather read something by a male author or a female author?
Okay. Here's the thing. If the question is, which would I rather read, probably the female author.
Which would you rather hate read?
If the question is, which would I rather dunk on than the dude.
All right, then. Sorry, Patricia Cornwell. We'll get to you another time. Then my pick to you. And I just want to note, Goodreads does say this book is 416 pages long, but it also says that it has an excerpt from another book in it. So I'm sure it's
unacceptable.
It's like 400 pages.
No,
There's just
we have never read a book over 400 pages. That is a hard and fast rule that we stick to every time on this podcast.
And you know what? Okay, then let's read Angels and Demons.
Fuck you.
The book I am presenting to you is The Amber Room by Steve Berry.
Both of those sound like things I have read, but slightly not. Like, I've definitely read an author whose last name is Berry before.
Dave
I don't
Berry?
think it was Steve. Might have been Dave.
Mary Berry?
Dave Berry.
Let me tell you.
And I definitely have read stuff with... Just go ahead. I'm making myself sound very stupid. So
Stephen King.
Yep, also a possibility.
Okay, so here's the book. The Amber Room is one of the greatest treasures ever made by man. An entire room forged by exquisite amber, from its 4 massive walls to its finely crafted furniture. But it is also the subject of one of history's most intriguing mysteries. Originally commissioned in 1701 by Frederick I of Prussia. Wow, okay, so this summary, I'm already bored with it. The room was later perfected by Sarko Selo, the Russian imperial city.
Hold on. Is this a novel or is this a book about a room? Is this like a nonfiction book?
Yes, it's a 400-page nonfiction book in which it just describes a room made of amber. In 1941, German troops invaded the Soviet Union, looting everything in their wake and seizing the Amber Room. When the Allies began the bombing of Germany in August 1944, the room was hidden, and despite the best efforts of treasure hunters and art collectors from around the world, it has never been seen again. Now, 2 powerful men have set their best operatives loose in pursuit, and the hunt has begun once more. Life is good for Atlanta Judge Rachel Cutler. She loves her job, loves her kids, and remains civil to her ex-husband Paul. But everything changes when her father, a man who survived the horrors of World War II, dies under strange circumstances and leaves behind clues to a secret he kept his entire life. A secret about something called the Amber Room. Desperate to know the truth about her father's suspicious dealings, Rachel takes off for Germany with Paul close behind. I'm assuming Paul is the ex-husband because, yes, ex-husband Paul. Shortly after arriving, they find themselves involved with a cast of shadowy characters who all claim to share their quest. But as they learn more about the history of the treasure they seek, Rachel and Paul realize they're in way over their heads. Locked in a treacherous game with ruthless professional killers and embroiled in a treasure hunt of epic proportions, Rachel and Paul suddenly find themselves on a collision course with the forces of power, evil, and history itself.
So this sounds like Da
National
Vinci
Treasure.
Code, National Treasure, any of those.
Yes.
But like with divorced people arguing.
Yes.
So that's a really fun twist on the genre.
Written in the early 2000s. Man writing a female lead. Should be good.
Cool. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
So swinging by next fortnight if you want to check out the Amber Room. In the meantime, you can tweet at us at HateReadcast if you know what a brain feels like. Or if you have any suggestions that you would like for us to read on the show.
Slubmissions.
You can tweet that or you can email us at hatereadcast@gmail.com.
As always, thank you to Ben Cope for the use of our theme song. You can check out his YouTube channel in the show notes below. And we are also available on all of your favorite podcast aggregating things. So if you haven't already, you should follow us on one of those. And if it happens to be iTunes, we would really appreciate it if you could give us a 5-star review, because that helps other people find us and send us their submissions to torture us into reading these books that we wouldn't otherwise read.
And remember that you can also tell people with your flesh holes.
Yes, but don't lose any teeth.
Yeah, keep those teeth in check. Keep them tight.
In fact, just like hold your hands, like push your teeth into your gums as you talk, like so that you don't lose any of your teeth.
This is good audio.
Thank you.
All right, you got that quote?
Yes, in the words of 4 different authors.
Somebody.
I am Livia, I want to tell them, and I am strange and confused and prefer my horse to any person. Just replace horse with dog. We're good. That's me.
Rebels, semicolon. City of Indra, semicolon. The story of Lex and Livia.
Is it semicolons or regular colons?
Didn't we have this conversation
They're regular
last time?
colons.
They're regular colons. You're right. Let me take another run at that. See, we had this conversation last time, and that put that in my head that it was supposed to be the other way around. Damn it. All right.